Hey Flower Tribe, it's Kelly Lehman and Lucy Lehman, and today I want to tell you 5 tips on how to grow amazing smooth hydrangeas in your own gardens. If we haven't met yet, it's nice to meet you. My name is Kelly Lehman. I'm the owner of Cranberry Fields Flower Farm here in Cranberry, New Jersey, and I love giving you guys fun, free flower tips. So please feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit that bell notification so you know whenever I post another fun, free flower tip video. So let's dive right in. So this is a super low maintenance hydrangea to take care of, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're new to the hydrangea game. So guys, this is what my Annabelle hydrangea row looks like, and it is May, and it's got a load of brand new growth on it. And in the next few weeks, I'm going to start seeing some beautiful green blooms all over this entire hedge. And then these green blooms are going to turn to white, gorgeous blooms. And then they're going to turn to a lime green bloom that's going to be semi-dried, and it's going to make for great flower arrangements once they're, all nice and dried out. So let me tell you how I got these guys looking this way. So basically, when I first put them in the ground, I made sure that I found a spot that had at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight. And what's nice about this hedgerow here is it gets about 8 hours of direct sunlight in the morning, and then it has a little bit of afternoon shade. So I've got like a little bit of a tree covering some of the plant. So some of these branches provide for that afternoon shade, but I have to say the entire hedge is not in that semi-shade. So even the blooms that are in full sun the entire day still do really great. But your best bet, if you have the choice, is to find a place that gets that morning sun and then afternoon shade. The second thing is to make sure that when you plant it, you make sure that you dig a hole that's at least twice the width of the pot that you bought it in and the same height. You want to make sure that you don't plant your smooth hydrangeas too deep. You want to make sure that they're either level with the soil or a little bit raised above it, because when they're planted too deep, a lot of times they'll collect a whole bunch of water, and that's going to cause issues. The third thing that's going to help your Annabelle hydrangeas is to make sure that you water them enough, especially when you first get them in the ground. So that first year is super important. So you want to make sure that the moisture around the plant is moist but not soaking wet, because hydrangeas don't like to have soggy feet. So to figure out if your hydrangea needs more water, you're going to do something that's called the knuckle test. So you're basically going to dig down around the base of the plant, around the depth of your second knuckle. And once you dig down there, you're going to see what the moisture feels like. So once I dug down here, I pull up my finger and I can see that it's very moist right now. So I'm going to leave this hydrangea alone because it's got enough moisture. If I were to have lifted my finger and that soil was super dry, I know that my hydrangea needs another shot of water. And it's a good idea to do like a watering at the base of the plant, because sometimes when people water overhead, they get all sorts of like fungal issues and black spots on their leaves. So water at the base of the plant. And another thing I want to tell you about is pruning. So a lot of times I don't even prune back my smooth hydrangeas. This whole first part of my row has not been pruned back since last year, and it's coming in beautifully. But I know a lot of people do like to prune back their smooth hydrangeas, and the best time of year to do the pruning would be in either late winter or early spring when the plant is still dormant. And I did this pruning back with a few of the smooth hydrangeas on this side of the hedge, and let me show you what that looks like. So these hydrangeas were pruned back to about 2 feet, and I did that in very, very early spring when they were still dormant. And I do that because I want to make sure that I don't prune them back all the way to the ground, because I want to make sure that this little infrastructure of the old wood is put in place from last year, because that helps support some of those new floppier new growth stems. So you can see this new growth stem is very green. And once you get a giant hydrangea bloom on that, it gets very floppy. But these wooden structures, these wooden stems seem to keep it in place. It seems to kind of hold it up. And then if you want even like the better version of that, then take a look at these smooth hydrangeas that I didn't prune back at all. And notice how their infrastructure is like 3 or 4 feet tall. So this is going to provide a load of extra support for those heavy blooms. But here's the thing, guys. The hydrangeas that I did not prune back are probably going to have smaller flower heads. They're still going to have a load of them. They're still going to be absolutely beautiful, but the flower heads are probably going to be a little bit smaller, because when I went ahead and I pruned back these guys, it gave the plant a recharge, and that recharge is probably going to give me like bigger giant blooms that are almost like soccer ball size. So that's kind of like the difference between pruning and not pruning. Also, I know a lot of gardeners will give their hydrangeas a pruning if they haven't been getting flowers. So if like the season before this, if I was getting very, very little blooms from the smooth hydrangea hedge, then I would go ahead and I would give it a pruning back in the beginning of spring, just to give it that recharge. But last year, this hedge was going like insane with blooms. It was just spectacular. I know that it's very healthy, and I know that it wasn't necessary to do a recharge of this hydrangea by any means. The last thing I want to tell you about is fertilizing. So for the most part, I think that a lot of gardeners may over-fertilize their hydrangeas, and a lot of times that will prevent the flower from blooming. So sometimes if you have too much fertilizer on your hydrangea, especially if there's too much nitrogen in there, you're going to have beautiful green leaves, but your hydrangea may not bloom as much as it can. So you may not get gorgeous flowers. So if you find that for the most part you have healthy soil, most of the plants in your garden are doing well without fertilizer, I would go a season to see what happens if you don't fertilize at all. So I haven't fertilized this hydrangea row, I think, in the last 10 years. I never apply fertilizer. I get beautiful blooms every year, and I know that the soil is just working very well for this plant. So consider either cutting back on the fertilizer or, maybe not fertilizing at all, just to see if that helps. Other soils might need that extra shot of fertilizing, so you might want to do a soil test to see if you actually do need a fertilizer, because it might be the reverse problem. You might need to have extra nutrients added. And those are my 5 tips on how to grow beautiful smooth hydrangeas in your own garden. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And please feel free to hop on over to my Cranberry Fields Instagram page, and also to my brand new podcast, which is based on the Flower Tribe's questions. So please also say hi to us over on my Flower Tribe Facebook group, because there's thousands of gardeners from all over the world, and they're asking and answering tons of questions over there. And please let me know where you're viewing this from in this great big beautiful world. I love to see how our Flower Tribe is growing around the globe each week, and I will see you in the next video. Oh, and check out my brand new online flower courses. They're in descriptions below too, and they teach you how to grow amazing flowers in your own backyard. Sorry for the shameless plug. Okay guys, I'll see you in the next video. You don't have to worry about taking care of this hydrangea. What? Yes, you do. You want to make sure that you don't plant your... Sorry. What? Ah!